The Grand Council chamber of the Zarketh Dominion stretched across half a kilometer of polished black stone. Thousands of warriors stood in perfect formation along the walls, their armor gleaming under the light of 3 suns that shone through the massive crystal dome above. At the center of the chamber, High Commander Vexthal stood before a holographic display showing star systems marked in red. Each red mark represented a conquered world. The Dominion had ruled this sector of space for 1,000 years. 47 species had fallen before their might. Their ships were the fastest. Their weapons were the strongest. Their warriors trained from birth to know only victory. Today they planned to add another species to their list of conquests. Vexthal raised one of his 4 arms, and the room fell silent. His scales shimmered with colors that showed his rank. Red for warrior, gold for commander, black for the blood he had spilled across 100 worlds. He spoke in a voice that echoed through the chamber. "We expand into the next spiral arm," he announced. "The scouts have found new worlds, new resources, new slaves." The warriors struck their weapons against their shields in approval. The sound was like thunder. Sub-Commander Kraith stepped forward. He was younger than Vexthal, but already bore scars from 20 campaigns. He activated a new section of the star map. A yellow sun appeared with several planets orbiting it. The 3rd planet shows signs of civilization, Kraith reported. They call themselves humans. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. No energy shields, their weapons still use chemical reactions. They have not even unified their own planet. They fight among themselves constantly. Laughter filled the chamber. A species that still fought itself, that had not mastered their own world. This would be easier than expected. Some of the younger warriors looked disappointed. They wanted a real challenge, not a simple harvesting operation. Then the great doors at the far end of the chamber opened. Every warrior turned to look. No one had been scheduled to enter. The doors were 3 stories tall, meant to impress and intimidate visiting dignitaries from conquered worlds. But the figure that walked through them needed no such display of power. It was a keeper. The Ancient Ones, the precursor race that had walked the galaxy before the Dominion existed. Before most current species had even learned to make fire. The keepers were tall and thin, their skin like polished silver. They moved slowly as if each step required great thought. Most keepers had died out millions of years ago. Only a handful remained, scattered across the galaxy, watching and remembering. The keeper walked to the center of the chamber. The warriors parted to let it pass. Even the mighty Zarketh showed respect to the keepers. They were old beyond measure. They had knowledge that even the Dominion's greatest scientists could not match. The keeper stopped before Vexthal and looked at the star map showing the human solar system. "You plan to attack these humans," the keeper said. Its voice was quiet but somehow filled the entire chamber. "We do," Vexthal confirmed. "It is a simple matter. They are weak, divided. They will fall within weeks." The keeper was quiet for a long moment. Its silver eyes reflected the star map. When it spoke again, there was something in its voice that Vexthal had never heard from a keeper before. It sounded almost like fear. "Do not attack the humans." Silence fell over the chamber. The warriors looked at each other in confusion. The keepers never interfered. They watched. They recorded. They offered advice if asked. But they never commanded. They never told the younger species what to do. Vexthal felt anger rise in his chest. "We respect your wisdom, Ancient One, but the Dominion does not take orders. We have conquered 47 species. We have shattered moons and burned worlds. What can these primitive humans possibly do to us?" The keeper turned to face the High Commander directly. "I have walked this galaxy for 3 million of your years. I have watched 10,000 species rise and fall. I have seen empires that spanned entire galactic arms collapse into dust. And in all that time, I have learned one truth above all others. There are some species you do not attack. Humans are one of them." "Why?" Kraith asked. He was curious despite himself. "What makes them different?" The keeper gestured at the star map. "Look at their world. You see division and weakness. But I see something else. Do you know what humans are? They are persistence predators. On their world, they were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the biggest. Their claws were dull. Their teeth were small. They had no venom, no armor, no natural weapons. Then how did they survive?" A warrior called out. "They refused to give up," the keeper said simply. "A human would pick one animal to hunt. Then they would follow it. For hours, for days, for weeks if necessary. The animal would run. The human would follow. The animal would hide. The human would find it. The animal would fight. The human would endure. Eventually, the animal would collapse from exhaustion. Then the human would kill it. Vexithal waved one hand dismissively. That is just hunting. We are warriors, not prey animals. You do not understand, the keeper said. This is not about hunting. This is about what humans are at their core. They do not know how to quit. They do not know how to accept defeat. Look at their history. They have fought each other for their entire existence. Not for territory. Not for resources. They fight over ideas, over beliefs, over pride. The keeper brought up new data on the star map. Images of Earth appeared. Ruined cities. Burned fields. Mass graves. They have had 2 world wars. Conflicts so terrible that they nearly destroyed their own species. In their Second World War, over 70 million of them died. That is more deaths than the total population of most of your conquered worlds. And do you know what happened after? They rebuilt. Within 30 years, they had reached their own moon. They turned the weapons they used to kill each other into tools to explore space. All species have wars, Vexthal said, but his voice was less certain now. Not like humans, the keeper replied. When your species fights, you fight for victory. You calculate odds. You assess risks. If the cost is too high, you retreat. You negotiate. You survive to fight another day. Humans are different. When humans fight, they fight to win, or they fight to make sure you lose even if they die doing it. They weaponize everything. Their music. Their culture. Their very bodies. They created a weapon so terrible that if they used it fully, it would end all life on their planet, and they built thousands of them. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Even the most hardened warriors looked troubled. A species that would build weapons to destroy their own world? The keeper continued. You look at humans and see weakness because their bodies are soft, because they die easily, because they are divided. But I have watched them for a long time. That softness hides something terrifying. They do not have scales like you. So they invented armor. They do not have natural weapons. So they invented guns, and bombs, and missiles, and eventually weapons that can crack planets. Every limitation they have, they turn into a challenge to overcome. We have fought species that invented weapons, Kraith said. We defeated them all. Did those species fight wars among themselves for 10,000 years before you arrived? The keeper asked. Did they perfect the art of killing their own kind? Did they learn strategy and tactics by fighting enemies who thought exactly like them? Humans have been fighting each other since before they had language. They know every trick, every trap, every weakness, because they have used them all on each other. Vexthal felt his confidence waver for the first time, but he was High Commander of the Dominion. He had never lost a battle. He would not show doubt in front of his warriors. Your warnings are noted, Ancient One, but they change nothing. We have energy shields that can stop any weapon they possess. Our ships are faster and better armed. Our warriors are trained from birth. Humans are civilians who play at being soldiers. This will not be a war. It will be a harvest. The keeper looked at him for a long time. In those ancient silver eyes, Vexthal saw something that chilled him. It was not anger, not disappointment. It was pity. I have warned you, the keeper said quietly. I have given you the chance that mercy demands. What you do now is your choice. But remember this moment. Remember when you had the chance to turn away. The keeper turned and walked toward the great doors. Before leaving, it stopped and looked back one final time. You think humans are weak because they feel fear, because they can die easily, because they cry when they suffer. But those are not weaknesses. Those are warnings. A species that knows fear and fights anyway. A species that knows death and charges forward anyway. A species that knows pain and refuses to quit anyway. That is not weakness, High Commander. That is something far more dangerous, and what is that? Vexthal asked despite himself. The keeper's voice echoed through the chamber one last time. Desperation. And there is nothing in this galaxy more dangerous than a desperate human. Then the keeper was gone. The great doors closed behind it with a sound like thunder. Silence filled the chamber. Some of the warriors looked uncertain. They had never seen a keeper show such concern before. They had never heard one offer such a stark warning. But Vexthal straightened his shoulders and raised his voice. The keepers are old. They have forgotten what it means to be warriors. We are the Dominion. We have conquered 47 worlds. 3 weeks after the Keeper's warning, the Zarketh war fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. 50 warships hung in the darkness like predators. Each ship was the size of a small city, bristling with weapons that could burn continents. The fleet had never failed in its conquests. Their first target was New Perth, a human colony world far from Earth. It was a mining settlement with only 50,000 inhabitants. A small place, an easy place, the perfect way to demonstrate Dominion power and break human morale before moving on to larger targets. High Commander Vexthal stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue-green planet grow larger on the view screen. Sub-Commander Kraith stood beside him reading sensor data. The planet has basic defenses, Kraith reported. 6 orbital platforms with kinetic weapons. A small fleet of patrol ships. Nothing that can harm us. The colony itself is spread across 3 main settlements. Vexthal nodded. Open a communication channel. Let us give them a chance to surrender. The communication officer worked the controls. Within moments, a human face appeared on the screen. A woman in a dark blue uniform. She had short gray hair and calm eyes. The rank insignia on her collar marked her as an admiral in the United Earth Defense Force. Her name was Sarah Chen. "This is Admiral Chen of the UEDF, the woman said. Her voice was steady. "You have entered human space without authorization. State your intentions." Vexthal stepped forward. "I am High Commander Vexthal of the Zarketh Dominion. We have conquered 47 species. You will now be the 48th. You have 1 rotation of your planet to surrender. Evacuate your military personnel. Lay down your weapons. Accept Dominion rule. If you resist, we will destroy your colonies and invade your homeworld. This is your only warning." Admiral Chen was quiet for a moment. Then something that might have been a small smile appeared on her face. "We've heard that before. From ourselves. The Nazis said it. The Soviets said it. Every dictator and warlord in human history has said something similar. The answer is always the same, no." Vexthal felt anger rise. "You do not understand your situation. We have weapons beyond your comprehension. We have shields that will stop any attack you can muster. We have warriors trained since birth. You are civilians playing at war." "Maybe," Chen said. "But we're civilians who have been playing at war for 10,000 years. We know what we're doing." She paused. "I'll give you a warning too, Commander. Leave now while you still can. You don't want this fight." Vexthal cut the communication. "Foolish. Begin the attack. Disable their orbital platforms first." The battle began exactly as expected. Dominion ships fired plasma beams that tore through the human orbital platforms like paper. The platforms returned fire with their kinetic weapons. Simple metal slugs accelerated to high speed. The slugs bounced off the Dominion energy shields without causing any damage. Within minutes, all 6 platforms were destroyed. The human patrol ships attacked next. Small craft, barely the size of Dominion fighters. They had no energy weapons, only missiles and projectile guns. They were destroyed quickly. Some of them rammed Dominion ships after their weapons failed. But the shields absorbed the impacts easily. "Orbital space is clear," Kraith reported. "Beginning ground assault." 10,000 Dominion warriors descended to the planet's surface in assault ships. They landed outside the largest human settlement, a mining town called Port Jackson. The warriors formed up in battle lines, their armor gleaming, their weapons ready. The settlement was surrounded. Vexthal expected the humans to surrender immediately. Instead, defensive guns opened fire from hidden positions. Explosions erupted across the Dominion lines. Warriors fell, their shields overwhelmed by massed fire. The humans were not using simple projectile weapons. They were using high explosives, chemical weapons. Weapons designed to kill their own kind. "Advance," Vexthal ordered. "Break through their lines." The Dominion warriors charged. They were met with a wall of fire. The humans had fortified every building, every street, every corner. They did not fight in open battle like honorable warriors. They fought from hiding. They used traps. They used ambushes. When Dominion forces entered a building, explosives hidden in the walls detonated. But the Dominion had superior numbers and technology. Slowly, building by building, they pushed forward. The humans fell back. Within 3 days, Port Jackson was under Dominion control. Vexthal stood in the ruins of the town center, looking at the destruction. "Victory," one of his officers declared. But Kraith was reading casualty reports, and his face showed concern. "High Commander, we lost 300 warriors taking this settlement. We have 500 wounded. This was supposed to cost us less than 50 casualties. Vexithal frowned. The humans fought harder than expected. But they lost. That is what matters. There is something else, Kraith said. He pulled up a data report. The humans took pieces of our equipment, armor fragments, weapons, shield generators, even pieces of our ships from orbit. They took everything they could carry before they retreated. Scavengers, Vexthal said dismissively. Let them take their trophies. It changes nothing. But over the next 2 weeks, as Dominion forces fought to secure the other settlements on New Perth, a pattern emerged. The human defenders were adapting. They started using captured Dominion equipment. Not effectively at first, but they were learning, and their tactics were evolving. They stopped trying to fight in open battle. Instead, they disappeared into the mines that honeycombed the planet. They turned the tunnels into a maze of traps and ambushes. Dominion warriors would enter a tunnel system and vanish. Search parties would find them days later, killed by cave-ins or chemical weapons improvised from mining equipment. The humans poisoned water supplies. They sabotaged Dominion vehicles. They set up sniper positions in impossible locations and took single shots before disappearing. Every human killed seemed to take 2 or 3 Dominion warriors with them. Kraith found Vexthal in the command center 3 weeks after the initial invasion. The High Commander was staring at a tactical map showing the planet. Most of it was marked as under Dominion control, but small red dots kept appearing and disappearing, showing human resistance cells. Final casualty report, Kraith said quietly. We lost 900 warriors taking this planet, 1,500 wounded. It took us 16 days instead of 2. Vexthal slammed one fist on the table. This was a mining colony. 50,000 civilians. We had 10,000 warriors. How did they cost us so much? They did not fight like civilians, Kraith said. Every human who could hold a weapon fought. Even their children helped set traps and carry supplies. They turned their entire colony into a weapon. He paused. And High Commander, there is something else. We captured some of their communication logs. They were broadcasting everything back to Earth. Every tactic we used. Every weapon. Every weakness they found. Vexthal felt a chill run through him. The Keeper's words echoed in his mind. Persistence predators. They study their prey. They learn. They adapt. It does not matter, Vexthal said, forcing confidence into his voice. We control this planet. We will move on to their other colonies. Each victory will break their morale further. Kraith pulled up another report. High Commander, we intercepted a human transmission. From Admiral Chen. She sent a message to all human colonies and to Earth. What did it say? Kraith played the audio. Admiral Chen's voice filled the command center. New Perth has fallen, but our people made them pay for every meter. We learned their tactics. We found their weaknesses. They can be killed. They can be hurt. And now we know how. All colonies are ordered to fortify positions and prepare for invasion. Earth is mobilizing for total war. To the enemy, if you're listening to this, you wanted a war. Now you have one. And we're going to teach you why humans don't lose. The transmission ended. Vexthal stood in silence. Around the command center, his officers looked uncomfortable. The message had not been a plea for mercy. It had not been a cry of despair. It had been a promise. A threat, Kraith spoke quietly. High Commander, what if the Keeper was right? What if we should withdraw before this escalates? Vexthal turned to face his second-in-command. We cannot withdraw. If we retreat after losing 900 warriors, it will show weakness. Every species in this sector will see that the Dominion can be defeated. We must press forward. We must crush them completely. Only then can we show that resistance is futile. Yes, High Commander, Kraith said. But he did not sound convinced. 2 days later, the Dominion fleet received new orders. They were to attack 3 more human colonies simultaneously. A show of overwhelming force. A demonstration that the New Perth resistance had been a fluke. But as the fleet prepared to move, sensor officers detected something strange. Human ships were moving in the outer system, not attacking, just watching, recording, learning. One officer described them as acting like sharks circling prey. Vexthal ordered fighters to chase them off. The human ships retreated without engaging, but they did not run far. They stayed just out of range, their sensors constantly active, watching, waiting. That night, Kraith found himself unable to sleep. He stood in his quarters looking at a datapad showing human history files they had captured. Wars, conflicts, battles that had raged for years, for decades, for centuries. 6 months after the fall of New Perth, the war had spread across human space like wildfire. The Dominion fleet had grown to 200 warships, pulling vessels from garrison duty across their empire. High Commander Vexthal stood in his command center, looking at a three-dimensional map of the war zone. It should have been a map of victory. Instead, it showed something that made his blood cold. The humans were losing. Their colonies were falling one by one. Their fleets were being destroyed in every major engagement. By all logical measures, they should surrender. But they were not surrendering. They were doing something far worse. They were adapting. Sub-Commander Kraith entered the command center carrying a datapad. His scales had lost some of their shine in recent months. He looked tired. High Commander, the casualty reports from the Proxima system. Vexthal took the pad and read. His 4 hands clenched. We lost 40 ships? Against their defense fleet of 30? Yes, High Commander. The humans used new tactics. They did not fight us in a single large battle. They split their fleet into small groups. They attacked from multiple directions at once. When we focused on one group, another would strike our flanks. When we tried to chase them, they retreated into asteroid fields where our larger ships could not follow. Vexthal threw the pad down. Coward tactics. Hit and run. This is not honorable warfare. No, Kraith said quietly. But it is effective warfare. He pulled up another report. And there is something worse, High Commander. Every human ship that was destroyed, they made sure to ram one of ours first. They deliberately crashed into us. Some of them aimed for the bridge sections. They traded one ship for one of ours, and they have more ships than we thought. Vexthal stared at the tactical map. Red markers showed destroyed human ships, but there were just as many blue markers showing destroyed Dominion vessels. They fight like animals cornered in a cage. No, a new voice said. Both commanders turned. It was one of the science officers. They fight like persistence predators. That is what the Keeper called them. I looked up what that means. These predators do not try to win quickly. They try to make the cost of victory so high that the prey cannot afford to keep fighting. They exhaust their enemy. The science officer brought up more data. Human broadcasts, intercepted communications, video footage from captured human equipment. What Vexthal saw made him understand why some of his warriors were requesting transfer away from the human front. One video showed a human captain on a damaged ship. The ship was breaking apart. Life support was failing. But the captain was laughing. Actually laughing. Her last words before the ship exploded were broadcast on all frequencies. See you in hell. Another showed human ground forces defending a colony. They were outnumbered 5-1. They had no chance of winning. But they did not retreat. They did not surrender. They fought until every single one of them was dead, and they took 3 Dominion warriors for every human that fell. Kraith spoke again. High Commander, we need to talk about Earth. Vexthal looked up. What about their homeworld? Our scouts report that Earth has transformed. In 6 months, they have converted their entire civilization to war production. Every factory is building weapons. Every shipyard is producing warships. They have evacuated all non-essential personnel from their major cities and turned them into fortresses. Kraith pulled up images. Vexthal saw massive shipyards in orbit around Earth. Hundreds of new vessels under construction. Mining operations on the Moon and Mars working around the clock. Asteroid belts being harvested for resources. They are building an armada, Kraith said. In 6 months, they have built more ships than most civilizations build in 10 years. How is this possible? The science officer answered. Because they have done this before. To themselves. Humans have historical records of what they call total war. In their World War II, they produced weapons at rates that seem impossible. One nation built over 300,000 aircraft in 4 years. Another built 50,000 tanks in the same time. They can industrialize war faster than any species we have encountered. Vexthal felt the weight of the Keeper's warning pressing down on him. What else? They have adapted our technology, Kraith said. The equipment they captured at New Perth. They have reverse-engineered our shields. Our weapons. Our faster-than-light drives. It took them 3 months. Most species need decades to understand our technology. The science officer added more. And they have created new weapons. Things we have never seen. They have started using nuclear devices as space mines. They have weaponized their communications satellites. They have even weaponized debris. They launch clouds of metal fragments at our ships. Our shields stop large projectiles easily, but thousands of tiny pieces moving at high speed. They overwhelm the shields and tear through our hull plating. Vexthal looked at the tactical map again. The Dominion controlled more territory now than when the war started. But the cost? The casualties. They had lost over 8,000 warriors, 35 ships destroyed, 70 damaged, and the humans were getting stronger, not weaker. We need to crush Earth, Vexthal said. If we take their homeworld, they will have no choice but to surrender. Kraith hesitated. High Commander, I must speak plainly. We are bleeding. Every battle costs us more than projected. Our supply lines are under constant attack. Human raiders strike our convoys and disappear before we can respond. Our garrison forces on conquered colonies face endless resistance. We cannot hold what we take because the humans never stop fighting. Then we increase our forces, Vexthal said. We pull more ships from the outer territories. We commit everything. High Commander, Kraith said carefully. What if we cannot win? What if the Keeper was right? Silence fell over the command center. Every officer present heard those words. The unthinkable idea that the mighty Dominion could lose. Vexthal turned to face his second-in-command. We cannot withdraw. If we retreat now, every species in the galaxy will know that the Dominion can be defeated. Our empire will collapse. Species we conquered will rebel. We will lose everything. He paused. No, we must win. Whatever the cost. We will attack Earth with our full fleet. We will burn their world if necessary. We will show them that resistance means extinction. Kraith bowed his head. He had said what needed to be said, but he knew Vexthal was right about one thing. The Dominion could not retreat without destroying itself. They had gone too far. Now they had to see this war through to the end, no matter what that end might be. That night a message came through from Admiral Chen. It was broadcast on all frequencies. Every Dominion ship in human space received it. The message was simple and direct. To the Zarketh Dominion, you have taken our colonies. You have killed our people. You wanted to see what humans can do when pushed. Now you will learn. We are done retreating. We are done defending. From this moment forward, we attack. Every ship you have. Every warrior you send. We will destroy them all. You wanted a war. You are going to get exactly what you asked for. Then the message ended with something that chilled every warrior who heard it. A human phrase that had been translated into dozens of languages. A phrase that humans shouted when they charged into battle. A phrase that meant they would rather die than surrender. Come and take them. 2 days later, human forces launched their first major offensive. Not at the edges of their territory. Not at the colonies. They struck deep into Dominion space, hitting the supply depot at Krell Station. 30 human ships against a heavily fortified station protected by 50 Dominion vessels. The battle should have been a massacre. The humans should have been destroyed in minutes. Instead, they used tactics the Dominion had never seen. Half the human fleet engaged the Dominion ships in direct combat. The other half ignored the battle completely and focused all fire on the station itself. They used nuclear weapons, kinetic strikes, even their new reverse-engineered plasma weapons. Within an hour, Krell Station was destroyed. The depot that supplied the entire invasion fleet was gone. The human ships that survived did not retreat. They activated faster-than-light drives and jumped away while still inside the combat zone. Something Dominion doctrine said was impossible because it was too dangerous, but the humans did it anyway. When the report reached Vexthal, he stood in silence for a long time. Kraith waited beside him. Finally, the High Commander spoke. They did not care about winning the battle. They only cared about destroying the station. Yes, High Commander. They sacrificed 15 ships, but they knew exactly what they were doing. Without Krell Station, our fleet in this sector cannot maintain full combat readiness. We will need to pull back to establish new supply lines. Vexthal closed his eyes. For the first time since the war began, he felt something he had never experienced in decades of conquest. Not fear of losing, not fear of death, but fear of what victory might cost. Fear that even if the Dominion won, they might lose so much that the victory would be meaningless. But there was no turning back now. The war had its own momentum. The Dominion had committed too much, lost too many warriors, shown too much weakness. They had to win completely or lose everything. Prepare the fleet, Vexthal ordered. We attack Earth in 1 month. Gather every ship we can spare. This ends now, Kraith saluted. Yes, High Commander. But I must ask. The Battle of Earth began on a Tuesday morning. 300 Dominion warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. It was the largest fleet the Zarketh had ever assembled. Enough firepower to glass a continent. Enough warriors to conquer a world. High Commander Vexthal stood on his flagship bridge, watching Earth grow larger on the viewscreen. This should be the final battle. After this, humanity would break. They would surrender. The war would end. That was what logic said. That was what all military projections indicated. But Vexthal could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. The tactical display showed Earth's defenses. 200 human ships in orbit, orbital platforms, weapon satellites, moon bases with long-range missiles, Mars stations providing support fire. But there should be more. Human intelligence suggested they had built over 400 ships. Where were the others? Sub-Commander, Vexthal called. Where is the rest of their fleet? Kraith studied the sensors. Unknown, High Commander. Our scouts reported seeing them. They were there 3 days ago. Now sensors show only the ships defending Earth itself. A trap, Vexthal said. They hide their forces waiting to ambush us. Perhaps. But High Commander, we have committed to this attack. We have brought 300 ships. Even if they have hidden forces, we outnumber them. Vexthal nodded slowly. Begin the attack. All ships advance. Destroy the human fleet. Then we take the planet. The Dominion fleet moved forward in perfect formation, 300 warships advancing like a steel wall. The human ships moved to intercept. But they did not form battle lines. Instead, they scattered, breaking into small groups, moving in chaotic patterns that made no tactical sense. Then the first human ship exploded. Not from Dominion weapons. It had detonated itself, right in the middle of the Dominion formation. The blast was nuclear. The explosion destroyed 5 Dominion ships instantly and damaged a dozen more. Before the Dominion could react, another human ship exploded. Then another. Then 10 more, all at once. Suicide attacks, using their own ships as bombs. The Dominion formation broke apart as commanders tried to avoid the exploding vessels. Vexthal watched in horror. They are killing themselves. Why? Then he saw it. The scattered Dominion ships. The broken formation. The confusion. It was exactly what the humans wanted. Because now the real attack began from behind the moon, from the asteroid belt, from positions hidden in the debris field of Jupiter's moons. The rest of the human fleet appeared. Over 200 ships. But these were not warships. They were converted civilian vessels, freighters, mining ships, even passenger liners, all of them loaded with weapons. All of them moving at attack speed, and they were not alone. Behind them came thousands of smaller craft, drones, automated weapons platforms, even small fighter craft piloted by single humans who knew they would not return. It was not a fleet. It was a swarm. The battle became chaos. Dominion ships fired in all directions, trying to track enemies that came from everywhere at once. Human vessels did not try to survive. They charged in, fired everything they had, and then either rammed or exploded. Every human ship that died took multiple Dominion vessels with it. They fight like madmen, one of Vexthal's officers shouted. They have no regard for their own lives. Kraith was pale. No, they fight like humans. They are making victory cost more than we can pay. Then Earth itself joined the battle. Missiles launched from the surface. Not dozens, thousands, tens of thousands. They filled the space around the planet like a metal storm. Dominion point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. The missiles crashed into ships, into formations, into anything that moved. From the moon came kinetic strikes. Massive chunks of rock accelerated to incredible speeds. They hit with the force of nuclear weapons. From Mars came long-range plasma fire using captured Dominion technology. From the asteroid belt came more converted ships, more drones, more weapons. The Dominion fleet was being torn apart, not by superior technology, not by better tactics, but by sheer overwhelming numbers and absolute refusal to quit. The humans threw everything they had into the battle, and they did it with a fury that made Vexthal understand why the Keeper had warned them. High Commander, Kraith said urgently. We have lost 80 ships. Over half the fleet is damaged. We need to retreat. Vexthal wanted to argue, wanted to order the attack to continue, but he looked at the tactical display. The Dominion fleet was dying. And the humans were still attacking. Still sending more ships, more weapons, more fury. Pull back, he ordered quietly. Sound the retreat. The Dominion ships tried to withdraw, but the humans did not let them go easily. They pursued. They harassed. They attacked every ship that tried to escape. They made the retreat as costly as the battle itself. By the time the Dominion fleet reached the edge of the system and jumped to faster than light, they had lost 140 ships. Nearly half the invasion force. Vexthal sat in his command chair as his damaged flagship limped through space. Around him, the bridge crew worked in silence. No one wanted to speak. No one wanted to acknowledge what had happened. The mighty Dominion had retreated. For the first time in 1,000 years, they had been driven back. Not defeated, not exactly, but forced to withdraw, forced to accept that victory would cost more than they could afford. 3 days after the battle, Vexthal received a message. It came through on a secure channel, a channel that only commanders knew about. The message was from Admiral Chen. Her face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, older than before, but her eyes were hard as steel. "Hi, Commander Vexthal. That was your chance to take Earth. You failed. Now I'm going to tell you what happens next." Vexthal said nothing. He just listened. "You came to our space. You attacked our colonies. You killed our people. You thought we were weak. You thought we would surrender. But you forgot something important. Humans don't know how to quit. We don't know how to give up. And now we're going to show you what that means." Chen leaned forward. "We lost 300 ships at Earth. Over 50,000 people died in that battle. But we stopped you. And in stopping you, we learned everything we needed to know. How your shields work. How your weapons operate. How your commanders think. We studied you. We adapted. And now we're done defending," she paused. "Starting tomorrow, human forces will attack every Dominion position in this sector. We will hit your supply lines, your garrison worlds, your command centers. We will not stop. We will not negotiate. We will pursue you all the way back to your home systems if we have to. You wanted to see humanity's fury. Now you will see it. You cannot win," Vexthal said. "Even if you destroy this fleet, the Dominion has more ships, more warriors, more resources." Chen smiled. It was not a kind smile. Maybe. But here's what you don't understand. We don't need to win quickly. We just need to make sure you lose eventually. We can fight for years, for decades, for generations if necessary. Can you? Can your empire afford to lose thousands of warriors every month? Can your economy support a war without end? Because that's what this is now. A war without end until one of us breaks." She leaned back. "The Keeper tried to warn you, but you were too arrogant to listen. You thought humans were weak because we feel fear, because we die easily, because we cry when we suffer. But those things don't make us weak. They make us dangerous, because we know what we're risking. We know what we're losing. And we choose to fight anyway." Vexthal felt something break inside him. Not his courage, not his will, but his certainty. The absolute confidence that had carried him through 100 battles. "What do you want?" "Leave," Chen said simply. "Leave our space. Never return. Agree to a peace treaty that guarantees human independence. Pay reparations for the colonies you destroyed. Do that and this ends. Refuse and we follow you home. We take the war to your territory. We make your worlds burn the way you burned ours." "I cannot make that decision alone," Vexthal said. "I must consult with the Dominion Council." "You have 1 week," Chen said. "After that we attack, and we won't stop until either you accept our terms or your empire collapses." She paused. "Think carefully, High Commander. The Keeper gave you a warning. I'm giving you a way out. Don't waste it." The transmission ended. Vexthal sat in silence. Kraith stood beside him waiting. Finally, the High Commander spoke. "Send a message to the Council. Tell them we need to negotiate a peace." "High Commander," Kraith said in surprise. Vexthal looked at his second-in-command. "We have lost. Not in a single battle, but in the war. The humans will not stop. They will pursue us across the galaxy if necessary, and every battle will cost us more than we can afford. The Keeper was right. We should never have attacked them." Kraith was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "I will send the message." Over the next 7 days, the Dominion Council debated. Some wanted to continue the war. Others saw the futility of fighting an enemy that refused to accept defeat. In the end, pride gave way to survival. The Dominion agreed to negotiate. The negotiations took place on a neutral station. The terms were harsh. The Dominion would withdraw from all human space. They would pay reparations for destroyed colonies. They would return all prisoners. They would agree to a non-aggression treaty that would last for 100 years. 5 years after the war ended, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Earth Station 1, looking down at the blue and green planet below. The repairs were almost complete. The orbital platforms had been rebuilt. The moon bases had been expanded. The shipyards hummed with activity, but now they built exploration vessels and cargo haulers instead of warships. Humanity had returned to what it did best: building, exploring, dreaming of distant stars. But the war had changed them. Every human knew now that they were not alone in the galaxy, and they knew that not all species were friendly. A young officer approached. "Admiral, we have a visitor." "The Keeper has arrived," Chen nodded. "Send them to my office." 10 minutes later, the ancient being stood in her office. The Keeper looked the same as always. Silver skin, ancient eyes, the weight of millions of years visible in every slow movement. But there was something different now. When the Keeper looked at Chen, there was respect in those eyes. "Admiral Chen," the Keeper said, "I came to see how humanity recovers." Chen gestured to a chair. "Please sit." "Though I suppose you don't need to." The Keeper sat anyway, an act of courtesy. "You tried to warn them," Chen said. "The Dominion. You tried to tell them not to attack us." "I did," the Keeper replied, "but they did not listen. Arrogance made them deaf to wisdom. It is a common failing among young species. Why did you warn them? Why did you care?" The Keeper was quiet for a moment. "Because I have seen this pattern before. In my 3 million years, I have watched 10,000 species rise and fall, and I have learned that some species are best left alone, not because they are weak, but because they are dangerous in ways that cannot be easily understood." "You think humans are dangerous?" "I know humans are dangerous," the Keeper said. "Not because of your weapons, not because of your ships, but because of what you are. Persistence predators, a species that does not know how to quit." "That combination is terrifying." Chen looked down at her hands. They were scarred now. "Burns from a battle 5 years ago. We didn't want this war. We would have been content to explore, to trade, to learn from other species. But they gave us no choice." "I know," the Keeper said. "That is what makes you most dangerous. You fight best when you have no choice. When you are cornered. When you are defending something you love. Most species fight for territory or resources. Humans fight for ideas, for principles, for each other. That kind of motivation cannot be broken." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly. Cities sparkled in the darkness. Lights that represented billions of lives. Lives that had almost been extinguished. "What happens now?" Chen asked. "The galaxy knows about us. About what we can do. Will others come? Will we have to fight again?" The Keeper considered. "Some will avoid you. The Dominion has spread the word. Don't wake the humans. That phrase is becoming common in many languages. Most species will seek trade and friendship rather than conflict. But not all. There will always be those who think they are different, who believe they can succeed where others failed. Young species full of pride and confidence. They will not listen to warnings any more than the Dominion did." Chen felt a weight settle on her shoulders. "So we will have to fight again, perhaps. But each time you win, the lesson spreads further. Eventually, all species will learn. Humans are not prey. They are predators, and they should be left in peace." The Keeper stood slowly. "I came to tell you something else, Admiral. The galaxy is old, very old, and it has seen many powerful species. Empires that spanned thousands of worlds. Civilizations that lasted millions of years. But most of them fell, not to war, not to disaster, but to stagnation. They became comfortable, complacent. They stopped adapting. And humans never stop adapting. It is what you do. You take every challenge and turn it into an opportunity. You take every limitation and overcome it. You take every weapon used against you and learn to use it better. That quality will either destroy you or make you one of the great species of this galaxy. Which do you think it will be?" The Keeper looked at her with those ancient eyes. "I do not know. And that uncertainty is what makes me watch humanity with great interest. You could become conquerors. You have the capability. You have the drive. But I do not think you will." "Why not?" "Because you have something most warrior species lack. Compassion. You mourn your enemies. You help rebuild what you destroy. You seek to understand rather than simply dominate. That combination of strength and mercy is rare, and it is why I have hope for humanity. The Keeper moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing, Admiral. The Dominion paid their reparations. They kept their treaties. But they are changing. The old ways of conquest have lost their appeal. Your war with them may have done more than just defeat an empire. It may have started a transformation. High Commander Vexthal, what happened to him? He retired. He now teaches at the Dominion War Academy. His lessons are not about how to conquer. They are about how to recognize when a battle cannot be won, about how pride leads to destruction, about how to listen to wisdom when it is offered. The Keeper's warning is part of every curriculum now. Chen smiled slightly. So some good came from this war after all. All things serve a purpose, the Keeper said. Even war, even pain. They teach lessons that cannot be learned any other way. The ancient being looked out at Earth one more time. Take care of your world, Admiral. Take care of your people. The galaxy needs what humanity offers. Not your weapons. Not your ships. But your spirit. Your refusal to quit. Your determination to survive and thrive no matter the odds. We will, Chen promised. And if anyone else attacks us, we will show them the same lesson we showed the Dominion. The Keeper nodded. I know you will. That is why I warned them. That is why I will warn any others who come looking for easy prey. Humans are not weak. They are sleeping predators, and the wise leave them in peace. Then the Keeper was gone. Chen stood alone in her office looking down at Earth. So much had changed in 5 years. Humanity had been baptized in fire. They had faced annihilation and survived. They had fought against impossible odds and won. But more importantly, they had returned to peace. They had not become what they fought against. They had not become conquerors. They had remained themselves, builders, dreamers, explorers, who only became warriors when they had no other choice. Across the galaxy, the story spread. The tale of how the mighty Dominion had attacked a species of soft, fragile beings. How those beings had refused to surrender. How they had turned every disadvantage into a weapon. How they had fought with a fury that terrified even the most hardened warriors. In 1,000 languages, the warning was passed down. In bars and academies. In council chambers and war rooms. In whispered conversations and official briefings. The warning was always the same, though the words might change. Do not wake the humans. Do not threaten their homes. Do not mistake their kindness for weakness. Do not confuse their desire for peace with inability to make war. Because if you do, you will learn what the Dominion learned. You will learn what the Keeper tried to warn them about. You will learn about persistence predators, about a species that knows fear and fights anyway, about beings who know death and charge forward anyway, about creatures who know pain and refuse to quit anyway. You will learn that humans do not fight to win quickly. They fight to make sure you lose eventually. They will pay any price, endure any hardship, sacrifice anything, because when humans love something, they will defend it to their last breath, and you will learn too late that arrogance makes you deaf to wisdom. That pride comes before destruction, that the Keeper's warning was not given lightly. It was given to save you from yourself, from the mistake of challenging a species that cannot be broken. In the Dominion Military Academy, young warriors listened to former High Commander Vexthal speak. He was old now. His scales had faded, his movements were slow, but his voice was still strong. And his lesson was always the same. I was warned, he would tell them. The Keeper came to me before the war, told me not to attack the humans, told me they were dangerous, but I was arrogant. I was proud. I had never lost a battle. I could not imagine defeat. He would pause, letting the weight of his words sink in. We lost over 15,000 warriors in that war. We lost hundreds of ships. We lost our reputation as invincible. We lost because we did not listen, because we thought we knew better than beings who had watched the galaxy for millions of years. Then he would look at his students with eyes that had seen too much. Learn from my mistake. When ancient wisdom speaks, listen. When you are warned about a species, heed that warning. And most importantly, remember this. Victory is not always measured in conquered worlds. Sometimes the greatest victory is knowing when not to fight. Years passed. Decades. Humanity continued to grow. They established colonies on dozens of worlds. They made contact with hundreds of species. Some became friends. Some became trading partners. Some remained distant but respectful. And through it all, the warning remained, passed from generation to generation, from species to species. From the oldest empires to the youngest civilizations just reaching for the stars, do not wake the humans. It was not a warning born of fear exactly. It was something more complex. Respect mixed with caution, admiration mixed with wariness.